The Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, has written to Nigerian Governors Forum requesting a meeting to discuss the congestion of correctional facilities across the country. The minister says the goal of the meeting will be to secure the release of 30% of inmates awaiting trial. Mr. Aregbesola says this will help in significantly reducing the number of inmates in the custodial facilities. He added that more than 90% of inmates are being held for contravening various state laws. This move by government aligns with the mission of the Justice Project, an initiative that has for years been involved in securing the release of inmates awaiting trial and helping to fast-track their appearance in court. The director of the Justice Project, Abimbola Ojenike, joins us now. Good morning. Thank you for joining us at TVC Breakfast.
Good to see you.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigeria.
Good morning.
Right. Now, in Nigeria, it is said that the wheel of justice grinds slowly. And if that is the case, would you say that perhaps that is the reason behind the level of congestion we find in our prisons?
Yes, thank you. That's quite correct. But on a more holistic context, the problem is bigger than that. You have a judicial system that is overburdened already by a whole lot that is passing through. So beyond the fact that the judicial system has its own problems in terms of the procedure and what's in place already to ensure that cases are determined, you also have to look at the system that serves as the gateway to the court, to the courts generally. And that's essentially the police. That's like the gateway. So today you arrest someone on the street for something, and the next thing is to take the person before the court. So if you have that everywhere, as it is today, many people don't even know why they've been arrested. Many people don't even fully understand the substance of the offense at all. And all of these people pass through the police system, the magistrate court, and almost automatically when you appear before a court, guilty or not guilty. If you say you're not guilty, the next thing is to be remanded. Even if you say you are guilty, sentencing will follow. So one way or the other, the court system is overburdened. So as we're thinking about the prison, the congestion process, we should be thinking seriously about the process that puts people in prison in the first instance, that puts people in the court system, and then in prisons.
All right. Give us an ideal situation of what is supposed to be in the first place. Because if you say that the process, there's something wrong with the process, and that's what leads to the congestion in the correctional centers or prison, as the case may be, or correctional centers. Yeah, that's what we use now. But what is the ideal situation? What is it supposed to be so that we can compare and contrast the difference between what we have now and what is supposed to be in the first place?
Okay, interestingly, the ideal situation is that people who haven't committed any offense at all, people who have no business at all with the justice system, the criminal justice system, should not be arrested in the first instance. So if I look at you on the streets and I just don't like your face, or you have something that is really commercial related, it's not even a criminal thing at all, and I just go to report at the police station, then that's really an anomaly, and that's where the problem starts from. So we can't really discuss a whole lot of other things along the process without first addressing that attitude of I don't like you, or you have done something, I'm not happy with that. And the next thing you do is to go to the police station, report that person, find something in the criminal statutes against that person. That's the very first attitude that we need to correct. And that starts with the Nigerian police force, essentially. How do we properly evaluate the claims or the complaints that are coming before the police? How do we ensure that people who really shouldn't pass through the criminal justice system are properly addressed at the level of the police stations and allowed to go home? Those who have no business at all standing a trial or being arraigned at all shouldn't be taken into the police station, into the cells, and then into the courtrooms.
Now, so how does your organization come in? Does it address it at that point, at the point of the entrance of this long line of, or long chain that you have analyzed? Does your project, the Justice Project, come in at that instance of working with the police? Where does it come in to addressing these matters?
Yes, we are interested in all the channels, and of course it starts with the police, but what the focus has been in the recent times, because we were established just like 2 years ago. So what the focus has been really is providing that immediate relief to those who are already in the system, while we engage in advocacy to ensure that more people do not get into that space. So we believe that through advocacy, we can ensure that we address the right institutions of government that are responsible for how people get into the criminal justice system. So we've engaged in prison decongestion at different facilities. We provide legal services to those who are low-income people, and you realize that they constitute the largest population of people who are in prison. Today, you say that you have about 74,825 people in prison. If you look at all of these people, they say that about 70% of them are those who are awaiting trials. And indeed, these are people who really do not have access to legal services. So that's one critical area where we think we can come in. For those who are already in the system, to ensure that they do not continue to be there. We also understand the old remand system, how a court says, I've granted you bail, but you need to present 2 sureties. And then for low-income people, this presents a major problem. First thing is, for you to process your bail, they will ask for tax clearance of your sureties. And then these are low-income people. Most of them work in the informal sector. So you now see someone who cannot even get 2 people who have tax clearance. You will ask for the NIN and a whole lot of other things. In some cases, a property somewhere. Then the bail conditions then become like an impediment to freedom entirely. You said that I can be free, but the conditions for freedom are so unreasonable that I cannot meet all of those conditions, especially for those who are like low-income people. So these are issues we are interested in. And we know that the prisons can be decongested if you can address how the bail conditions are given, how the police even brings people into the court system at all, and to ensure that those who eventually get into the correctional centers get the right kind of legal support that they need to face trial and be free or be properly jailed.
All right, the police that seem to be the weakest link here from the picture you have painted. What's the engagement with the police, and how are they cooperating to say, okay, we're going to reform this, or we're going to try to amend this, or we're going to change that?
You know, the reform of the police is a big issue that goes beyond any single organization. But what the goal has been for the organizations working in this space is to engage more in training, reorientation. We know that it will take a very long time for this to eventually happen, but it's a continuing process of engagement at all levels. And that's what we are committed to as an organization as well. So in the coming months and possibly years, we will have more direct engagement with the police, where we do training, where we do research to then confront the institution with the facts that already the institution should be aware of. And then with that, we can have a more collaborative kind of engagement where everyone comes to that realization that this indeed is a problem, and this is where it starts from. And if we cooperate, indeed, we can solve the problem.
Now, I'm interested in the bail conditions, what your engagement with that channel has been like, because you said you've been around for about 2 years now. What kind of challenges have you faced in engaging with any of these channels, especially for the channel that has to do with the bail conditions and all of it?
Okay, so in our own reality, we have shifted focus a bit away from helping the inmates to process bails, because it becomes really time wasting. Before bail can be presented, you have to present 2 people to stand as surety. In some cases, in rare cases, maybe 1 person, it's hardly ever so. If the person cannot produce that person to stand, then it becomes a problem. So we just focus on the trial itself. And in most cases, trial will not even occur. You realize that the prosecutor doesn't come to court, or that the prosecutor comes to court and just merely announces, witness in court, and something like that. And then you don't see anyone. And then we'll seek another adjournment that could be like 2 or 3 months. And then somebody continues to be in prison. So what we then try to do is to follow the process. And when we realize that this is not going well, we draw the attention of the court to that. There is already a mechanism in the law that then allows you either to ask for the release of that person, because nobody should be detained or remanded perpetually. The law already says, if you call for trial, and then the prosecutor is not in court, and you are represented by counsel and you are in court, if that happens repeatedly, judges are inclined to then allow the accused person, quote and unquote, to be released from prison. And you realize that in most cases, what some of these people really need is just a lawyer to say, I'm here to represent you. Because today, prosecution is hardly ever, diligently, conducted in many courts, and that's a problem. You see that the attitude is just a little laid back. It's like some people don't even realize that this is something that generally affects the freedom of another person. They just stand up, witness in court, the Lord, nobody's in court. We ask for another adjournment, and then somebody gets into the black maria and is hauled back into prison. We think that's really unjust, and that's the kind of situation we're trying to address. So we don't focus on just the bail processes anymore. That's something that must be addressed from the level of the judiciary. We won't teach judges anything about how they do their job. It's entirely the roles of the judges. But indeed, we can draw attention to how some of those conditions then become really difficult for the ordinary person. Can we use their NIN? We have that national database already that almost all Nigerians are trying to get into. Can that be the basis for determining the identity of who comes to stand for another person? A tax clearance is good. We need to bring more people into the tax net. But should it be on the occasion of somebody's freedom? Somebody wants to be free. And that's the moment we now say that, okay, if you cannot get your family members who are paying tax to come forward to stand for you, then there is a problem. Tax is another thing. The tax drive or the revenue drive is just another thing entirely. And it should be addressed in its own context. But when somebody is trapped in the criminal justice system and wants to be free, let's address it on the basis of what it is. You want to identify who is coming forward as a shorty, then let it be that. Let's not bring your family members. Let's see their tax record before you can be free. I think that is patently unjust.
Well, we want to assume that the learned, those who were learned, who decided to put all of those conditions or conditionalities as the yardstick for anybody to become free. For you to become free or for you to get access to bail, there must have been blah, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 conditions. We want to assume that those who put that together must have thought it through all of that process before putting it all together. Are we seeing it now that those conditions are no longer relevant to the 21st century? Is that what it's looking like?
Okay, so the fundamental principle of that is to ensure that those who come forward are people of means, that you have means in the real sense. But is that really correct? In most cases, some of them will approach the tax authority and then pay tax maybe for the first time and then get cleared, bring something before the court to say, oh, I'm paying tax, and that's all. So you're not really able to ascertain from just that documentation alone that this person is a person of means and all of that. There are many other things that can be considered. And in some other cases, maybe at the Federal High Court, they will ask you to present somebody who has a property in Lagos, somebody who is a federal civil servant, and all of that. All of these things lead to corruption in other ways, because then those who don't have that within their social network or family, we then have to go and engage the professional shorties, which in a sense can be very unethical, who then come forward to say, okay, you pay money to me, but I come to stand for you as shorty. Then we are still not addressing the problem. We need to find other ways of determining who is a person of means. And then for some minor offenses, maybe we don't even need to go as far as all of that. If somebody has been arrested for a minor offense, can we have a summary trial? Can the mobile courts work well?
Right.
Can we ensure that all of those petty crimes, like what the minister was saying to all the state governors, can we ensure that the magistrate court and all the other courts do not become like the gateway to the remand centers or to the correctional centers, as it were? So those are the real issues. And then we can decide some other criteria for determining who is really a person of means. And in a country with more than 82, where more than 82 million people, trapped in poverty, then that becomes a real challenge. So we need to rethink all of these things and not, do them just the traditional way. It's the way we have always done it. Come forward with somebody who has a property.
So if we are speaking rethinking now, because I want us to quickly make judicious use of the limited time we have. If we're talking about rethinking now, talk to us about what should we rethink in the list that you have looked at now. Just a brief pointers to how we should rethink addressing this.
For us, it's first, like I said earlier, the police complaint system.
Yeah.
And what leads to arraignment in the first instance.
Right.
The second one is what should lead to remand or not. Should everyone be remanded for all kinds of offenses? Or can the police administrative bail be good enough in certain cases, meaning that if you bring someone before the court for a minor offense, can the police grant bail to that person? Then you'll be coming from home to attend trial because it's a minor offense, meaning that we're trying to bifurcate those who have like minor offenses, who can be granted administrative bail to come from home, and then those who must go into the remand system. And then to change the criminal justice system entirely, can we look at the procedures again? Can we look at the kind of conditions that we impose as bail conditions and all of that? So there's a whole lot. And then the retraining of the police officers, the prosecutors. Can we ensure more diligent prosecution? Can we ensure we don't just transfer police officers anyhow? So the person who is the prosecutor here or the witness here is transferred from Lagos to Kaduna or Borno, and that person is not able to come before the court anymore. And then the accused person will continue to be in prison because we cannot produce that person who should be the witness against the accused person.
All right.
So those are issues for us.
We have to leave the conversation here now, but we must thank you, Director of the Justice Project, Abimbola Ojenike, for your time on the program.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah.